It's been a while, but I can say it again, live from Israel. It is Hanoch Young, back in Modain, out of the undisclosed location. How's it feel to be breathed in the air of Israel?
Okay, that part is fabulous. I cannot lie. Yesterday, having gone into Yerushalayim, Jerusalem, or as we tour guides say, Jerusalem, was wonderful. Um, I saw friends of ours. I saw Yuval. I saw Uri. I didn't go into the old city. And
Oh,
tomorrow, I actually have a luncheon appointment, also in Yerushalayim. So I get to go back. So I'm very excited about that. Lots and lots and lots to catch up on.
yeah.
But first of all, let's start with, and by the way, it's also incredibly disorienting. For more than 2 months, living out of two suitcases and then two big carry-on bags, it's still, and to kind of keep gearing up for this presentation and this meeting and this guiding possibility and this networking thing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then basically it's kind of like going from being a hero to a zero, because as of yesterday, as we all know, hopefully, Israel has begun welcoming back tourists.
Yes.
The tour operators that I've dealt with ain't got nothing right now.
Wow.
So there are people who said, Hanoch, you better sleep on the plane because you're going to be working as soon as you get back. It doesn't work that way.
No, it takes a little while.
It takes a while for tour groups to gear up. The first group that I've got scheduled is at the very end of May, right over Shavuot. End of May, beginning of June. And there are still a number of issues that have to be worked out regarding tour groups. We're not going to even touch upon that today because things are likely to change. So why give information that's only valid for another week?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll leave it at that. Of course, the big news and the thing that's pushed Israel out of the world news is the Ukraine situation, Russia's invasion.
Sure.
My suggestion to people is, I'm not going to go into a great explanation of what's going on. Go onto YouTube, look up Ben Shapiro.
Yeah.
He does his tremendous insight, gives a thorough coverage of it. He's extremely bright. He's even more sarcastic than I am.
Oh.
So, go ahead and enjoy. Ben will tell you. I think today's one is talking about Biden's State of the Union address. There's no reason for me to even touch that. There's too much comic material. The sort of back issues regarding Russia and Ukraine, Russia claiming that they went into Ukraine for denazification, is bizarre.
Yeah.
There are about 200,000+ Jews in Ukraine who are in a very difficult situation. But Israel can only beg world Jewry to come.
That's true.
They've got to get up on a plane and do it.
I mean, it's the voices of Jabotinsky that was running around Europe and saying, you guys need to get out of here. What happened?
It's not, this situation is not going to end up well. There seems to be on social media tremendous pride because President Zelensky of Ukraine, is Jewish. What does that have to do with the price of oranges? I have no idea. But that's a thing for people.
Yeah.
I would prefer to focus right now on the fact that with all that's going on in the world, in other words, we've spoken routinely about all the distractions. Well, now we've got other distractions.
Yeah.
This is the time when we say to ourselves, This is a time for emunah, of faith, and to make plans and to continue moving forward. That's the real key. And I've been very, very gratified with the tremendous response that you and I have gotten from our Connect to Israel tour coming up at the very end of October. Wow. Like I just couldn't keep up with all the emails, popping in one after the other of, new signups. But interestingly enough, I'm also encountering people who are saying, you know what? And I don't just mean for our Connect tour, but in general, I'm going to sit and kind of wait and see how this Ukraine-Russia situation plays out. My reaction to that is, what the heck is your problem? And I'll tell you why I say that. Because I remembered in July of 2015, 7 years ago,
Yeah.
I was in America and I was leaving the South. I was going to the Republic of Texas. People said, you don't want to go there. And they told me all about Operation Jade Helm.
Yeah.
Now, if the people that I've dealt with over the years wore kippot, they would be made of aluminum foil. No doubt about it.
True.
No doubt about it. So you don't want to go to Texas because of Operation Jade Helm. Then they told me, well, where are you going after that? I'm going to Salem, Oregon. No, you don't want to go there because don't you know, there's going to be an earthquake under the Pacific Ocean. Make a long story short, tsunami. And then, okay, where are you going after that? Well, back to New York. No. Because that meteor is, make a long story short, as you recall, our very second Connect to Israel tour was in November 2015.
Mm-hmm.
We had a person signed up.
Yeah.
She had put in her deposit and pulled it at the last minute because she said she knew for a fact that the US was about to be plunged into a depression and she didn't want to have any bills on her credit card. Now, this is a woman who's a co-host of a radio show. US wasn't plunged into a depression, but she missed out on an opportunity of a lifetime. And to the best of my knowledge, she hasn't been to Israel since. And that's 7 years.
Yeah.
So the reality is we do what we can do, but we continue to plan to lead our lives.
Well, I said on my program this week that I'm cautiously optimistic.
Absolutely.
Okay. I mean, do I believe that we're going to be getting off the plane on November 1st in Israel? I don't know. But I know this, I'm making plans for that. And we have right now, we cut our tour off at about 25 people. Right now we have 20, I believe 20 signed up, and I'm working with 2 other people. So, and here's the thing. So many people said to us, well, when Israel opens up,
that's right.
And then it's like, well, but okay, this is where you put actions to your words. And, for those that, for the multitudes that stayed behind in Egypt, whatever. For the multitudes that stayed behind in Babylon, whatever. I'm not focusing. I'm not going to go back and run after people. I'm looking for the people that want to move forward. I'm seeing those people right now. I'm excited about what's happening. Yes, are we keeping an eye on Ukraine? Of course. I tried to watch the State of the Union speech last night. Sleepy Joe didn't fall asleep, so I did.
It's again, that is, there are just, we could do entire comedy updates just on world figures.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's just, it's pathetic. But this is, I've said it so many times that it almost bores me to keep saying it. But this is a period of being sorted out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm loving it. Now, people said to me, Hanoch, did you lose your mind totally in America? You're a tour guide and you're telling me you don't care if people come? No, you need to listen to me carefully. I do care, but you can never lead someone where they don't want to go. If you really don't want to go to Israel, don't use Ukraine as an excuse. Don't use the Biden administration as an excuse. Don't use the price of gas as an excuse. Make it happen. If not, no problem. I'm not going to be there guilting you out.
No, no, my focus is on the people that want to go.
Exactly.
And you know, you and I think totally agree on this. I would rather have 20 people that have a heart for the land, the desire to be there, the desire to connect with the God of Israel, the land of Israel, the people of Israel. I'd rather have 20 that want that, other than instead of 200 that don't. They're just there to see the holy sites. You know, I talked to somebody. I talked to somebody on the phone yesterday that said, I'm not real good at computers, so I gave him a call, and she says, you're not going to take us into any Catholic churches, are you? I said, well, I'll probably walk you by and show you where the door is. But that's, you know, that's as far as I'm going to go. And I say that on the day of Lent.
Oh, that's right. So wait a second. So I missed out on Mardi Gras? Oh my God.
Yeah.
I love that conceptually. This idea that we're going to give up something to be holier, right? But before that period comes, let's cram in as much sin as we possibly can. What a great concept. You know, I've told you this before. I have tried to advance that concept here in Israel instead of our concept of tshuva, of returning. And people just haven't bought into it. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I mean, Mardi Gras is kind of like, you know, trying to drink enough to give you a hangover for a week. And then, you know, putting some ashes on your forehead and expecting the hangover to go away. It's just, I've never understood this. I just, you know, some of these things that come out in, you know, out of the Catholic Church, and I know this goes over to, you know, the Anglicans and various others. I just look at this and I say, how can you open the scripture? What verse can you go to find these concepts? And
It's, yeah.
I can't find them. It's just not there.
There's an allusion to it in the book of Second Abigail. You'll have to check that.
You know, I loaned my copy out.
See?
That's what you get for loaning a book out. You just miss out on the truth.
That's what you get for being a good guy.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. I mean,
that's the way. I like it. That's yeah. You know, and I have to tell you, I did not take kindly to someone, I don't want to mention her name, of the Connor sisters, who actually was keeping track of how many songs. That, you know, like, again, as we say in Hebrew, no es bueno. This is not good. Not good. But there is tremendous, this is a time for tremendous, I'll say it again, tremendous emunah, tremendous faith.
Give me
people have cried for 2 years. If you know, if I could only go to Israel. Well, now you can, boys and girls.
Yeah. So
where are you at?
You were on Ben Yehuda Street, or as some have called it, Ben Yehuda. That one got me one day. So you were on Ben Yehuda. You saw Yuval.
Yes.
What's the attitude? What's the reactions of the general population there?
Yuval asked me, "No, Hanoch, so when are the tourists coming back?" Again, it's not just tour operators and tour guides, it's those store owners. Again, Yuval, we have Uri of Shkalim, we have Udi of Blue and White, We have Moshe and Dov of Shorashim. All those people who depend upon tourists, we're starving. And we have no idea how many months it's going to take for this to click in. Yuval did tell me out of his 3 shops, one of them he converted strictly over to selling clothes in the meantime.
Wow.
In other words, he still has the lease.
Okay.
And I hope to go see Udi in the Cardo, but when I saw him last in December, right before I left, 3 of the shops in the Cardo had already put out, out of business signs. They were done. Because again, in December, remember, our finance minister said, if you're in tourism, go find another profession.
Yeah.
Thankfully, he showed himself, Avigdor Lieberman, to be as much of a buffoon as we've always known.
Yeah.
So it's a difficult situation. It's a very difficult situation. Am I thinking of coming back to America immediately to start speaking again? No, I am drained.
Yeah.
And there were too many. On the one hand, I had the most incredible experiences with wonderful people in state after state. And then again, then you encounter the other people who just want, tips from me as to how to best witness to Jews.
Yeah.
So, what am I going to do?
Yeah. Yeah. Yuval, we became very close friends during the time of the what so-called Intifada, the Oslo Wars. We were taking tours during that time from 2000 to about 2004. And I remember walking down the Cardo or walking down Ben Yehuda Street and all the shops being closed down. I got to what was the Sheraton at the time, now the Leonardo. And I mean, I used to get off the bus and I would literally throw my bags in the room and run down to Ben Yehuda Street and, go down to see different people that I've known, Yuval specifically. He had one store, the one with the big gray and white sign. And he had a sign out that said special discount to brave tourists. This man was not there for my money. Most of the shop owners that I know, there's one just north of his store that you know very well. He could have had my business years ago, but I felt like the only thing that he was interested in was me getting my wallet out. He cared nothing about who I was. Yuval, on the other hand, he could care less if I bought something. But I always took everybody to his store, and they would buy all kinds of stuff. Well, after the Intifada, he ended up he owned 3 stores.
Yeah,
and to walk in now, the wonderful thing about the Israelis is that they never forget. And so when I go to Israel now, Barry was there with me one time on a tour. And he said, I've heard of these relationships that you have with these people. He says, but to watch it, to walk into a store and see that relationship, he said it was so incredible. So when I hear a story of Yuval and how he's had to turn one of his stores into a clothing store, for one thing, I applaud him. He's never quit. This guy has gone through everything. He's never quit. On the other hand, it grieves me to know that he's going through such times as this, and I don't have the ability to help any more than I do. One thing we did is we need a talit for Life Assembly, as you know, and to do the blessing of the children as we do every Shabbat. And so, I went online and, eBay, you can buy talits from, Rabbi Shlomo, and the talitsrus.com. And I thought, why would I do that? Why would I give money to somebody that I have no clue who they are? So I got on WhatsApp and sent a message to Yuval, and 3 weeks later, it's in my hands, and that's our connection with Yuval. That's what we could do, and so
Okay.
this is about not being distracted, but figure out what in the midst of all these distractions, what can I do?
I just have to add on to that story. You put the money in an envelope and asked me if I would drop it off. So after he gives me a big hug, hello, and we had spoken on the phone, I wanted to make sure that he was there. And I pulled out the envelope and I said, "This is from Mike." And he looked at it and was like, "Oh," and he just put it in his pocket. In other words, that it was almost superfluous. So this is the time of tremendous optimism. This is the time when people can plan to go to Israel if they want. And the thing, someone asked me, summarize for me why your Connect to Israel experience is the one I should go on. Because they said, listen, this was very interesting. I could hire you as my guide, Hanoch. I could go and hear Mike or listen to his teachings online. What's special? And what's special is we share our relationships with our participants.
Yeah.
That's the key. That's the key. And it's a very exciting thing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm thrilled. Now, let me update you on a couple of other things in Israel. We have had one of the wettest winters ever. The Kinneret is like overflowing practically, and it was doing great over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. And a study was just released, a dubious distinction. Out of the cost of groceries in the world, Israel ranks the 6th most expensive in the entire world.
Great.
Again, we say in Hebrew, no es bueno, not good. January is a time when prices go up in Israel. Prices have gone up. There's, kind of consumer backlash, but it's when you need a loaf of bread and a container of milk, you get the bread and the milk, no matter what it costs.
Yeah,
So that's what's going on.
People have said, why do you go to Israel? It's so expensive. I mean, go to Nicaragua and stuff is cheap there. Yeah, and you're in Nicaragua. Okay, whatever. I'll spend the extra and be in Israel.
Absolutely.
We've got our
that day is
hotels.
coming closer.
Yeah,
that day is coming closer.
That's right. Yeah, my passport, the United States Department of Treasury cashed my check, and so my renewed passport should be coming back pretty soon. So you may be seeing me before you know it. Well, we'll see.
Don't threaten me. Don't threaten me.
We've got our hotels are booked for Israel. We'll be, of course, at the Lev Yerushalayim. The last I heard, we have
Yes.
the Lev Yerushalayim, which is a beautiful hotel.
That's confirmed.
You step out the door and go across the street, and you're on Ben Yehuda Street. There's the fish and chips place
Best
right
location.
there. It's just it's a great place to be. We'll be at the Caesar, I believe it is, up on the Kinneret. Literally, you step out of the hotel. There's the lake. It's right there on the boardwalk. We'll be at the Eshel HaSharon Hotel in Ariel, which this will be my first time being there. That hit hard since Tova passed away.
Yeah.
And of course tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's the thought of walking in that hotel without her being there Might be
It's
a little bit more difficult than I thought.
the last 2 years for so many of us have been so difficult. And you know, I was looking at it's just, there's so much to be upset about, and there's so much to worry about. And you almost have to take a silly approach to things. You're like, it don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. Da da da. We're back. We're back. Now, ironically, to the best of my knowledge, the United States is still requiring tourists to be vaccinated, which I don't quite understand, but no es mi problema, not my issue.
Well, with that, you know, I think going to the whatever that was last night, of course, we saw the puppet in charge and the the two clowns sitting behind him. All three of them did not have masks on. They understand that they can't push this too much farther. So they're going to be making. There's going to be a lot of changes that are going to be made. You know, what's going to happen next? Is there going to be another shoe that drops? Guys, I don't know. I mean, I've read the Torah enough times to figure out that crystal balls are not what we should be basing our life on.
That's not how we roll.
Yeah,
not at all.
You know, in going to the crystal YouTube, you know, the latest greatest prophet. You know, guys, these are distractions. What's going to happen tomorrow? I don't know, but I've got a pretty good. I think I got a pretty good contact on the one that's already been there. You know, my wife loves to say that prayer. You've already been there. The word says he has declared the end out of the beginning. Take comfort in that. My job today is to figure out today. If I figure out enough todays, that's going to take me into the future. But if you know the robbing of life is when we try to live life in the past or the future. Both will rob you of today. That'd be a good thought to put up on Facebook. Both will rob you of today. What can you do today? Maybe it's sign up for the Connect Israel, take one of the last 5 or 6 spots there. But if your heart's not in it, you know, don't say, well, you know, Hanoch and Mike, you know, they just really, and I need to prove to them that my heart. No. If it's not there, it's okay. It's okay. We're all right with that. Okay. We're still going to go. We're still going to take pictures. We're still going to do some video from Israel, you know, and maybe that's going to be the thing that propels you into the next tour. Whatever. Okay.
Again, the future is ours. Everybody has a chance to look in the mirror and say, am I all that I am supposed to be? And either Israel matters to you or it doesn't matter to you. Now, of course, that's a strange thing to say on the Israel update because the people that listen to us,
oh yeah,
duh, you know, it's preaching to the choir, you know, whatever. So
yeah. So for those that do listen to us on a weekly basis, we appreciate you guys. And you know, it just you're a remnant. You are a remnant. And I know the you know, you feel like the striped purple cat sometimes. You talk to your friends, your family, they don't have a clue what you're talking about. They think you're crazy. They think you're nuts. They think you've joined a cult. But remember this, Noah was considered crazy until the first drops of rain fell.
That's absolutely true. And you know, while I was in the US, right before I came back, was the anniversary of one of the more risky activist things that I did in my career back then, where 7 of us staged a sit-in in Moscow in the former Soviet Union. Um, Ironically, the hotel we stayed in Moscow was the Hotel Ukraina. So, you
Oh,
know, kind of a little bit of an odd thing. Now, of course, it's weird to remember that that was 46 years ago. I must have been just like maybe 8 years old. I don't really remember that far back, but it remind it reminds me that you need to live a life that has a focus and a mission. And, you know, for some people, it's taking that first step of donate, you know, like soon you'll be placing a call out to everyone saying, hey, you're going to Israel, send some money, and you'll be, you know, giving it directly. Maybe it's buying that Lev Haolam box every month. Maybe it's sending, you know, money to American Friends of Itamar. There are so many things to do. Maybe it's contributing regularly to join to Hashem. This is what people need to realize, that there's a purpose that they're still living for, and
yeah,
live it
we're
to the
not,
fullest.
we don't have a building plan here. There's no building program except for trying to build the kingdom. So that's the way it goes. All right, Hanoch,
Amen.
Shavua Tov. We will talk soon, I'm sure. Take care, man.
Okay, see ya. Bye-bye.